So we'll start off with a quick icebreaker. So ladies, I'll call you out each one at a time. In one word, how would you describe your fly in, fly out experience? Carly, we'll start with you.
For me, it's been career game changer.
Awesome. Erica?
A big adventure.
Sorry, I'm turning the heater off here. And Lisa?
Absolutely unique.
Beautiful. So our first set of questions will go around your personal journeys. So what drew you to fly in, fly out work? Lisa?
It was a different opportunity than what anybody else I knew was working in my career, going to different sites, especially when they were remote sites. It was also attractive that as a young person in those days, that compensation tends to be a bit higher when you're sacrificing your time. So that compensation made me considerably more independent in my own life. And it also made me be able to contribute more to my family. So that was a big factor in growth in my family and at a personal level.
Sure, thank you. Carly, what drew you into fly in, fly out work?
Really the career growth side. When I first started with Cameco, I started out of our corporate office, but pre-Cameco, I was in the coal mining side. And so that was out, boots on the ground out at the operation. So I've definitely always loved the op side. And so to be able to get growth back into the operations again, that's really what drew me in. And initially I was on a week in, week out schedule. And so having that ability of flexibility for lifestyle was an amazing part, as I love to travel outside of work time too. So having that time on and off really had a balanced benefit.
Great. And Erica, what drew you to fly in, fly out work?
I think when I graduated from university, I really didn't feel confidence in myself to get out there and hit industry. And I figured I need that experience. I was sort of tired at school, just looking at a whiteboard or sitting at a computer. And I wanted that opportunity to be there in the front line, seeing the action and getting that firsthand experience about what life can bring us.
Awesome. Erica, we'll start with you for the next one. What was the biggest adjustment for you when you started camp life?
I think it's the lack of privacy. So as soon as you get off the airplane, you become known by everyone. There is a lot of females now. That's a very norm, but everyone still sort of gets to know who you are before you get to know their names. And I took this to my FEET luncheon group, and one member mentioned a really good comment about the first time she went to line up to get food and had every head of the camp eyes turned to her, and it sort of was a unprepared surprise at how famous you sort of become on a camp.
Sure, small town famous.
Yeah.
Carly, what was the biggest adjustment for you when you started camp life?
Me, for my sleep patterns, being away from your bed, being away from my memory foam pillow fully through my neck out, that I was like, oh, okay. So bring those things from home that make the adjustment that much nicer. But yeah, that camp life, I will speak to the head turners. That was definitely one that you noticed right off the get-go, and you're like, it's lessened over the years, but it still happens. And so it's creating more women in the workplaces as a norm instead of the single out, right?
And Lisa, what about you? What was the biggest adjustment when you started camp life?
The ladies are not incorrect in the fact that you turn heads when you show up because of the lesser amount of women that are around. But for me, it was the lack of personal control in everything. You're there to work, so your sleeping patterns, your eating patterns, where you are at any given time, your recreation, what's available to you at any given time, that can be pretty low considering what you would have if you were at home. Aging myself here, but when I started at the one mine, cell phones and things weren't a thing. So you couldn't FaceTime, you couldn't contact your family and friends on a regular basis. And the phone system that we actually had a 3-second delay on it. That's how old it was. So it was very challenging to talk to people. So that was it. Everything is out of your control.
And one last one on the personal journey topic. What's one thing you wish you knew before your first rotation? Lisa, we'll start with you.
One thing, oh, there's a few, that planes can be late, prepare for that. And the other is until you build your relationships, your friends, your people at the site, bring something comforting from home, whether that be entertainment, books, a pillow, yes, blanket, something like that. Bring something for comfort because it's going to be very different for the first little while.
Perfect. Sorry, Erica, what was one thing you wish you knew before your first rotation?
I think I would have asked to maybe have coffee with someone at the site or the camp, because they do send you instructions, but they can't cover everything, and having a personal conversation with someone. So I actually see the person who sponsored me on the call, Alyssa, here on the thing. And as soon as I arrived off the plane and greeted her, it was like a big hug. And I feel like if we'd met maybe for coffee before, it would have just been a little easier of a first time experience. So yeah.
Sure. What about you, Carly? What's one thing you wish you knew before your first rotation?
Pay attention to the packing list of what they, or the recommended packing list. Don't forget things if you do, right? It does happen. There, like our camp does have a commissary on site, but I think the other piece that like I was really fortunate of for my first rotation was that buddy system. I knew who I was going to see, who I was going to have, that I had my cross shift at the time be there for me, and was able to do those like pre-discussions with them. And so that was such a big piece. Did I still forget things? Yeah, so pay attention to that packing list. It's helpful. If not, ask the question.
Right on. Thank you, ladies. Our next set of questions is based around life in camp, and Carly, we'll start with you first. How do you balance fly-in, fly-out life with family or personal commitments?
I've got to highlight that I have an amazing partner. He is my biggest supporter to make fly in, fly out, me away work. I have a young daughter at home as well that's just about 6. And so without him, I know this would be a lot more challenging. That it definitely comes from a place that, yeah, kudos to him, because he is my ultimate supporter that makes this so much easier.
Perfect. Lisa, how do you balance fly-in, fly-out life with family or personal commitments?
I agree with the having to have like a strong network when you're at home, but it's planning. A lot of planning has to go into, family events. If weddings are coming up, graduations, like pre-planning vacations, saving vacation days for important things. I would say planning. Planning is one of the biggest things to make sure that you don't miss out on some of the most important things that you're going to experience with your family and friends.
Sure. Erica, how do you balance fly-in, fly-out life with family or personal commitments?
Again, I think it's scheduling, and it's also sort of maybe looking at that, oh, I have free time when other people are at work, and there's ways I can contribute to my community or to your family members, doing doctor's appointment runs and other things that is really hard for someone that works a typical 9-to-5 job to do. So yeah, there's drawbacks. So maybe put a little extra effort to say, hey, I'll use this as an advantage. And these are ways I can help out in different times. So
Sure. And Erica, while I have you, what's been the most supportive or most challenging part of camp culture for you as a woman?
I think privacy, as well as maybe your ego, and admitting sometimes some of the jobs, especially like in mining, there's a lot of heavier equipment that has to be moved around, or in some of my other jobs, and it's that ego to admit that I need help. So this isn't really a mining example, but it was when I was offshore in the North Sea. We had to go over the ocean and hang up a line to measure something. And I actually thought I had to do that. And now I realize that's stupid. That is not what I'm trained to do and what I'm responsible and how I can contribute to site. And then I realized by having coffee break with the guys, developing a good network, I got the person who's in charge of the ROV and does that on a daily basis to do that job for me. So I think it's realigning your ego that it's okay to ask for help. And there's some things physically you might not be able to do, but there's people that are more than happy to contribute those ways.
Thank you. Lisa, what has been the most supportive or most challenging part of camp culture for you as a woman?
Most supportive has been the people here. Not exclusively just the other women that are working here, but yes, seeking out support from the other people here. Most challenging again is missing the family and missing things and having to cope with that when you are removed from that situation. And you have to get to a point that you have to accept that you are going to miss some important things from home. That's going to be impactful to your mental well-being. You need to be able to manage that.
Carly, what about you? What's been the most supportive or most challenging part of camp culture for you as a woman?
I would definitely echo the people, right? The people are what make it so great, but also can make it really challenging as well, because you don't have that space you're perhaps used to that you always, right? You have folks around breakfast, lunch, and supper all day at work. So that can be an amazing, but also a lot all at the same time. And I will, yeah, re-echo what Lisa just said of that, like that control piece at home. You don't have it when you're physically there, right? You miss out on you miss out on that first day of school. But I also know I have my husband sending me so many amazing photos of that first day, and getting to know that I'll FaceTime at the end of the day and catch up of how it went. And so, but control's a hard piece, not to be that person when you want to be that person. You don't get to be at two places at once, but you got to know that you're doing well.
And Carly, I'll stay with you here. Camp food, love it, hate it, or depends on the week?
I love that I don't have to cook for myself, but also it can vary on the week, depending on the chef. I've had freaking spectacular meals, and I've had stuff that love it or leave it, right? And so I always know I'm very well fed. There's always options. There's always something to be there. So,
Lisa, camp food, what's your take?
Well, unfortunately, I'm a really picky eater, so I'm a hate it. I've always said there's always something to eat though, because there's always pie. And unfortunately, I've taken advantage of that too many times. So there's always pie.
What about you, Erica?
Yeah, I think there's a wide variety, and there is salad and fresh vegetables and roasted vegetables. So there are always conscious effort for healthy food now.
Perfect. Erica, we'll start with you for the next set of questions, which surround workplace culture and inclusion. Have you seen inclusivity in camps improve over your career?
Yeah, it's more regular. It's not a big deal now when a female comes to site. So 25 years ago, I remember my first time working underground in a potash mine, and we were a group of 4 girls. We're the first ones they've done in a long time, a trial, having us work behind the miner. And so it's great to see that it's become more normalized, and better resources, facilities like washrooms and locker rooms are provided.
Sure. Lisa, have you seen inclusivity in camps improve over your career time?
I've seen the increase of the attempt to make inclusivity, but I think with most recent changes in the last several years, with shifts going to longer periods of time, the 2 and 2, I don't think we've increased as many women as could be in a lot of these roles. So that's been a little bit disappointing. But as for keeping them here, making sure that we're protected, housed, clothed in the appropriate PPE that would fit, I see all of that has changed, most definitely. I started with a pair of turnout gear when I was on ERT, where the pants were so big, my overalls were up, attached almost below my ears, and the crotch was around my knees, that the guys used to like have to grab me from the back and throw me into the back of the truck because I didn't have the leg span to get up in there. And then within a matter of having to deal with that in months, had a brand new set of turnout gear for someone who's 5'3".
Carly, have you seen inclusivity in camps improve over your career?
So yeah, definitely seen, I think, the change of, like something as simple as having a place to go to the washroom and be able to have feminine hygiene products when things happen and life happens that you don't get a plan. So we've seen those changes. We've seen things like the PP availability. We've gone through different iterations, whether it's cover gals or now new options to be able to have better fit to things, because the reality is we are fit differently. When you say about your bunker gear for ERT, I remember when I first joined the team, I think when they had ordered me some gear, it was more so to like the gloves ordering. They like joked that they're like, you not to have a child to be a firefighter, right? But like the size of gear that I needed to actually fit me was needed. And so we've seen so many of that willingness to be able to make sure you have what is right, what works for you so that you can do the job properly. But even, you know, to be able to have space at camps, to have, I know over at MacArthur, they have the women's only gym. So you would be able to have a space, because let's be honest, whether you're walking to a gym at a camp or walking to a gym in the city, there's some intimidation factor to those things. And so to be able to have spaces where folks can still feel comfortable and still work through their normal routines is really, really beneficial. So, I mean, so much more to go, but I think there's definitely been a path in the right direction.
Sure. Thank you. Lisa, what's one change companies could make to better support women in camp?
Not necessarily just camp, like in the industry itself, when you're doing it to a fly-in situation. Like I stated, many minds have gone to the increased work time, like a 2 and 2. I would really like to see us keep our younger women that make the sacrifice to come up here and start working. And when they start having families, it's very, very impactful. I cannot tell you how many young women we've lost out of the industry because of family commitments. I'd really like to see businesses start embracing a lot of job sharing or some sort of flexibility to that schedule, so that we are not losing these incredible, highly educated, skilled women.
Sure. Thank you. Erica, what's one change companies could make to better support women in camp for you?
I think having more round tables and having the discussions. And then sometimes there can be issues that once you start the dam flowing and get a group of women together talking about it more, there's probably some very simple ideas or good brainstorming that can come out of it that I think maybe from an HR side they might not have realized until that group just comes with that dedicated, supportive environment to have that discussion.
Sure. Carly, what's one change companies could make to better support women in camps?
I think to continue the education on allyship of how important that can be, that, you know, it shouldn't always have to be my voice saying that something isn't okay, right? To be able to have a male counterpart, to be able to see and hear things and be able to be that voice to create a helpful space. I think that's where we can continue to grow on.
Carly, I'll stick with you for this next one. How has fly-in, fly-out shaped your career progression?
I mean, for me, it's been, like I said initially, game changer. It's definitely been a helpful part of my growth and career, and the experience level that I've been able to obtain within, and the variety of touch points that you have, especially on the operation side, that it's not just you get to see how an action or a policy update that we do actually lands and how it happens to people and how it has that effect. And it's that real life application, and getting to see it through has had a very beneficial aspect for me for my career growth. And so it is very much shaped my career, and my love for operations has continued to grow.
Lovely. Thank you. Lisa, how has fly-in, fly-out shaped your career progression?
Being that this is a niche network of fly-in, fly-out, and niche network of the actual industry, getting already your foot in the door and making a commitment to stay with it, there's just more opportunity for growth and advancement, especially if you're enjoying it here. Being that it doesn't work out for anyone, there tends to be a little bit more turnover than there might be in any other places. And if you're committed to it and engage with it and enjoy it, there's that real opportunity for advancement. When I started, I didn't expect to be in charge of the laboratory, and here I am.
Awesome. Thank you. Erica, how has fly-in, fly-out shaped your career progression?
Yeah, like it's definitely given that experience, that firsthand experience of things and how operations work, and also just talking to people and relating to them. Every time you put your tray down at a table with a bunch of strangers, by 20 minutes later, you'll have had a great conversation and learned something. And if you're able to talk to many different people from many different walks of life, it carries you forward every day.
And Erica, what advice would you give to other women who are considering a fly in, fly out role, but they're feeling hesitant?
Yeah. Again, I think it's to sit down and make the pros and cons list, because there is, and it's such individual for everyone's circumstances. And it's working through your intuition and what your voice says. And if you have a strong voice that just says, this isn't for me, it might be better, because if you're not happy or you're not thinking it's the right choice for you, you're going to be grumpy where you are. You're not going to perform at your job. And so going through the list, seeing talking with your family, everyone around, and making the pros and cons to make sure if it's the right decision for you. I think that thinking is going to help move you forward, and then talking to more people individually who go through that lifestyle.
Thank you. Lisa, what advice would you give to women considering fly in, fly out roles who are feeling hesitant?
Definitely parrot what Erica just said. Biggest thing is going to be getting your support network settled at home before you really do jump in. That's what you need. And if you're your own support network, again, do the pros and cons. Yeah, and just give it a try. Get here. There's nothing wrong with trying.
Right on. Carly, do you have advice for women who are considering fly in, fly out that are feeling hesitant?
So I give it a try, but be curious about it, right? Like find if it's unknown to you, ask the questions, dig in, like yeah, find a mentor, find a colleague to be able to right, like have these relationships to be able to unpack it, to figure out what can work, because God, it can be so worth it. But really, yeah, don't just shy away because it's unknown. I mean, unknown can be so amazing and beneficial, but respect that it can be really scary too, right? And so, like, don't just let that sit. Dig into the whys there.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies. Our next set of questions are on future outlook and closing reflections. We'll start with Lisa. What's one change that you would like to see in fly in, fly out camps in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think I already mentioned it, to basically keep some of our young women employed in these kind of positions, especially when child rearing comes. I know we live in a culture right now where that's not always all female dominated, but let's be honest, most of the time it is. So I would really like to see some sort of change where we could make some flexibility to that fly in, fly out schedule to make sure we don't lose these ladies.
Sure. Carly, what about you? What's one change you'd like to see in the fly in, fly out camps in the next 5 to 10 years?
In all joking matter, not such early mornings, but that's, you get long days, that sometimes those alarm clocks at 4 a.m. go off and like, oh no thanks, but you do it and you go. I think on another one is, sometimes it's try and find something fun in it too. I think sometimes as like I have a young child and the like joy and benefit that I see of her like birthday. Well, maybe there's like programs or initiatives that you can do to like, you get to sleep in on your birthday, like something fun. But in all seriousness though too is the change and growth is to keep getting that introduction. Like I know when I asked one of my colleagues on this, like, what's one thing, like keep going on the family tours, like getting folks to be able to see where you live and breathe half your life. That's such a cool piece for folks to be able to seek to understand your side of the world too, of where you're feeling some challenges or really good spots. So yeah, have that involvement, keep it growing, keep the opportunity there.
Yeah, thank you. Erica, what's one change that you are looking forward to seeing in fly in, fly out camps in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think what Carly said about the family tours and just making it more accessible for people to try out, getting some people from colleges and universities to get an experience of camp life. Because I think once you get there, you can just say, hey, this feels like home, and I'm comfortable, and I want to keep doing this. So.
Erica, do you have one piece of advice that you would leave for women who are entering fly-in, fly-out work?
Yeah, I just wanted to share a good statement I've always had if I felt like a conversation or a direction was maybe going into a way that I thought was not appropriate. And I always like to say, I think you've gone too far. It's a nice way to like redirect, maybe realign the conversation, and yeah, just reset things. So if you are listening, or the coffee talk, or places where you think it needs to be corrected, a good statement would be, I think you've gone too far. And that usually is a nice, non-evasive way to stand firm on topics and conversations.
Thank you. Carly, what's one piece of advice that you would leave for women who are entering fly-in, fly-out work?
Give it a try. Be open to, right, show up, do the extracurriculars in the evening, build your supportive community that you have up there. But also have those check-ins with home. Make sure that that balance is happening, because that doesn't work without home working, right? If those two worlds are always colliding, then the reality is it doesn't work. But it's, yeah, please give it a try, see what works, see what doesn't work for you. Be able to know to challenge the norm, right? I would love a place where, it's not the norm question of why I work and why my husband is a stay-at-home dad, right? Let's re-challenge what industry or societal norms tell us to do, and be able to still be the best version that you can be of how you can bring benefit to the workplace. But yeah, please give it a try. You don't know what you don't know, and so get out there and seek it. Be curious.
Awesome. Thanks, Carly. What about you, Lisa? One piece of advice that you would give women entering fly-in, fly-out work?
That network thing again, make sure you got a good network and be your own advocate. Nobody's going to make space for you, so make your own space. Women deserve to be up here.
Perfect. We're a little ahead of schedule, but at this time I'll open the floor for any questions for Carly, Erica, or Lisa. Do any of our guests have questions? Ooh, we've got Lisa. What rotation schedule would you suggest realistically?
Well, the suggestion I would have prior to going to the 2 and 2, we had a 7 and 7 schedule. There's absolutely great business reasons. There's absolutely great personal reasons for going into like a higher schedule of 2 and 2. But unfortunately, that didn't work for a significant amount of people. And there was no action to make it a choice to go to a different one. So that's what I want. Like if 2 and 2 didn't work for you, could you job share it with somebody to do a 7 and 7? So, I mean, the Monday to Friday, 8 hours a day is not going to work. That is not realistic. So you still have to work within a business case, but there should be talks around it.
Sure. Carly, do you have any insight into that rotation schedules that you would suggest realistically?
I mean, every operation is going to be a little bit different, right? I think it's what we're quite familiar with in the north of how we've moved, or northern Saskatchewan, how we've moved to a 2 and 2 schedule. I think it's also, yeah, it's going to drive differently depending on what location. Some project work, right? Some contractors go in for a long rotation and shorter stints at home. It can really vary, but yeah, you just got to figure out what works for you and your home community to be able to work a schedule that some love 1 and 1, some love 2 and 2. Some,
Sure.
yeah, it's, I don't know if there is no right or wrong answer there, because it can, yeah, but pick the operation that works for you.
Erica, any insight there?
Yeah, like I worked a 7 and 7, and I did like that. But again, there's basically, you have more travel time, and you sort of lose every day you travel back and forth. And so, yeah, it's a hard one to answer.
Sure. We'll start with Erica for the next one. What's your favorite story from camp?
Oh, I think someone's baiting me on a story. You said I could tell somewhat funny stories on a little edge. My first week at camp, I had my keys on a lanyard and I had them on my shelf on my shirt above. And someone played a joke. This is not true, but they said if your keys are on the outside of your sweater, it means something else. And I was like, it was not true. It was a joke, but a few people on the call will know about that one. So yeah.
Lisa, what's your favorite camp story?
The welcome I got when I was at Clough Lake. I got called to a false call to go to mill maintenance where I got blasted by a fire hose. Welcome to the team. So it was like they do it to the boys, they're gonna do it to the girls. So it felt like wet, but it felt like I got included.
Nice. Carly, do you have a favorite camp story?
I don't know if I have a favorite, like, I don't know. I love all the, like, when we used to do like Christmases and like our Halloween and, our team cautions that we would do. But I still think the like funny one that I get through is that everyone jokes that I'll like sleep through an alarm because I think I'm known to sleep through the like fire alarm going off, that I sleep with earplugs or like sound machine, that it's like, I don't hear those things, just sleep right through it. But, I guess I should pay attention to it.
We've got a question from Judith that says, what camps are in Saskatchewan? I'm a second-year millwright working up in Alberta, 7 and 7, but my contract is done before Christmas. Carly?
So like our camps for Cameco, we have 4 camps in northern Saskatchewan. And so if there's different opportunities that someone is seeking out to be able to, I guess I can have a plug of to be able to go to our careers page to see if there's any jobs open. But yeah, we have 4 different camps in northern Saskatchewan that operate on a 2 in 2 out schedule.
Erica, any insight on camps in Saskatchewan?
There's also geological camps. Points North is something we didn't really talk about, and that's a third-party run sort of northern gateway type of camp with a landing field. And some of the geology exploration side, they stay there. It's like a hotel basically for the north, and they use that as the base to get off to different areas and work sites as well. So,
Sure. Lisa?
Oh, I'm at the Rurano site right now, which is McLean Lake operation. So we're in Northern Mine, obviously. But I also know there's some development coming up in several other companies that are probably going to expand the job availability in the north in the coming years.
if I could just add one thing too, we haven't talked about the third-party contractors. So there's a lot of third-party contractor companies that work and have very long-term contracts and are frequently on site and do have rotations as well for employees. So you're not necessarily limited to just mining companies. There's a lot of contract service companies that have people going back and forth to all the camps. So
Sure. This next one is a 2-part question. Erica, we can start with you. What coping strategies do you use to manage stress and isolation during fly-in, fly-out rotations?
well, I used my spare time off to get my yoga instructor training, and that sort of became something that I used, those coping, breathing, and movement exercises. And then I ended up teaching a yoga class on site, and it was a good experience. I have patented my own yoga move. I call it reversing in the Toyota. And it's very key when you're doing a physical job to do that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Lisa, what coping strategies do you use to manage stress and isolation during fly-in, fly-out?
Basically, when I'm here, I don't feel a lot of isolation because I have a lot of people around me any given time. So sometimes the actual stress is to relievers to get away from that. So kind of just do something on my own. If not a lot of people have spent time up in the Saskatchewan North, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. You can go for walks. We have a lot of activities here. You can do those with a group of friends. You can do them on your own. Everything is accessible here. So yeah, so just some sort of physical activity, peace, quiet, anything like that.
Carly, what coping strategies do you use to manage stress and isolation?
Yeah, I think the ladies have highlighted a few of definitely get outdoors, enjoy the space, enjoy the beauty that's around you. Yeah, and also highlight when you've had enough for a day too. I know that sometimes a coping mechanism, it's actually not the isolation you're feeling. Yeah, you're feeling away from family, you'll FaceTime, you'll call home, but sometimes you've had enough and you could go back to your camp room, and that's okay. I like to, sometimes do the quiet brainless activities like a puzzle or read a book, those type of things, but also the coping mechanisms that we've seen too on different things. That it's the beauty in a post-COVID world is that we've seen things that are right. You can do therapy sessions online virtually, right? I'm able to meet with my psychologist like this instead of having to worry about what my flight schedule is, that I'm able to still make sure I'm taking care of me when I'm not in my home address.
Sure. Carly, I'll stick with you for this next part. We were in the same topic. Have you experienced any stigma or challenges when seeking mental health support in this industry?
This is one where, don't get me wrong, this is my career, my path of I want folks to know that there is support mechanisms there, and I am a massive advocate that if you don't take care of you, you don't get to show up the way you want, right? And so yeah, go through those employee family assistance programs that are there, seek out utilize those benefits that you have, see what you have for resources to be able to provide different programs or place to be able to lean into those resources. Please don't forget about them, because yeah, sorry, I will say time and time again, you don't get to show up unless you take care of you.
Yeah, thank you. Erica, any insight on the stigma and challenges when seeking mental health support, in the industry?
I think it's come a long way, because even I would say 10 years ago, we didn't have that same openness. And now we all talk about, our next appointment with our counselor. And it's great to see how normalized it is. And I think the biggest message is that just because you're in what you'd consider a more workplace environment, it's still very acceptable to stress about, to discuss stuff like that, and have a friend or two on site or people to call when you need it.
Thank you. Lisa, have you experienced any stigma or challenges when seeking mental health support in this industry?
Again, there's been a lot more training and a lot more availability for help than there ever was in the past. Like, I think most big companies make sure they have some sort of employee family assistance program. Our company's even taken it a step further, where we have a social worker on site on a regular basis. So this is something we've taken very seriously. And so no, there's no stigma, there's no shame in it. You do have to fight for yourself. And the companies have most definitely made those availabilities for people to seek, and training even for us supervisors, mental health training, so that you can spot it in some of your people, and then you can encourage them that we have the EFAP program, there are people to talk to.
Thank you. Our next comment says, any thoughts on burnout? They personally found a fly-in fly-out schedule and the long hours, continual focus on work created burnout for her, and the time off to unwind wasn't enough to cope with it eventually. Have any of you experienced burnout on this schedule? Erica, we'll start with you.
Yeah. I had a case when I was working out in Scotland where I had just had, I hadn't been home to Canada in over a year. And I burned out. I literally cried myself back to Saskatoon just to get my parents to pick me up. And I stood in the kitchen and my parents were like, you don't have to go back. Don't do this to yourself. And at that point, I literally just stopped crying. And I was like, oh, but all my friends are there. And I went back. But that's making light of a serious thing. And again, like I say, if it's constant, and a break, taking a career break, a recharge break is something we have in my company. So I am office based now, and I can actually take 3 or 4 days I sort of buy them per year from my from optional, and then I can take a 6-week break, a really big intensive work break if I need it in 3 to 4 years, and the company helps sponsor a little bit. So nuts options there. And again, like I say, sometimes we just have different seasons in life, And if it is causing that much stress personally and in your life, and you just come to that point where you have to make the decision, I think your inner voice tells you, I'm ready to continue on, and I will want to continue on, and your family and everyone does. And if it isn't, yeah, there's everything ends at a right time, and you have to decide when it's for you. So and if you exhausted the other supports, it could just be time to move on in life. So
Thanks, Erica. Lisa, have you experienced burnout with fly in, fly out work?
Probably not the textbook version of like burnout, but exhaustion for sure. For sure. Like 2 weeks is a long time. We joke about hitting day 10 and being like a zombie, and then trying to find the extra little energy to push through for the extra 4 days before you're leaving. But there's been times when, for instance, I had a shift when I was working, my shift day was Fridays. So by the time I got out on a Friday, when again, the family and friends that I've now missed out on, when are they most busy? When are they doing their activities? It's the weekend. And there were a couple of times where I just got home and I couldn't. I just really couldn't. I was exhausted. I remember showing up to one function at my parents' cabin, and I didn't get out of bed. My mom checked on me regular. Are you okay? Because it was just, the fatigue was just too much. I couldn't do it. Which means that I probably wasn't doing a good enough job taking care of myself, maybe leading up to that. But yeah, so when that happens, you need to know when to do the timeout. You need to know when to take a break.
Thank you. Carly, any experience with burnout?
Yeah, I think listen to your body. I always joke with my husband that I can't never make me make a decision Thursday night, because I can't. I just got off the plane, I just wrapped up and I just don't have that ability anymore. So I think being like open and honest with yourself of when you're like, I'm tapped out. I've got nothing left. I need to recharge. I think that's a really, really big piece to, and yeah, at least highlighted it when you're hitting that, like, however many days in, you're done, whether you've had like shitty sleep after shitty sleep and you're trying to catch up on your 12-hour days, and you're just like, I can't. I think you also need to voice that, like, okay, right, even to, right, whether it's communication with your supervisor or what's going on within your team, to be able to identify that, what, my focus needs to be here, because that's how much I have in my bucket today, that I don't have 110% to give today, because I just don't. And being honest with that creates transparency. And then, that next day you're able to, maybe I then did have a dream sleep and I can reset and reoffer what I can go forward. So yeah, be honest with yourself. You're human.
Thank you. What strategies or policies do you see making a positive impact on retaining women in fly in, fly out once they start a family? Lisa, we'll start with you.
Oh, I think I've said it already. Set schedules, making sure there's some sort of flexible schedule for those people that have started families, because I've seen it. I've literally seen it here. I've seen people come up here, not be able to handle it because of the family, and had to quit quickly after starting. I've also seen young ladies with careers for 2, 3, 4 years, and then they start having the family, and then they go because they can't stay. But then, because they've been in it so long, I've seen those people return. They've returned later on in life when the kids are now more independent. So if we could potentially make those years when the kids aren't that independent, if we could do that by making some sort of flexible schedule, that'd be great.
Carly, any strategies or policies that would make a positive impact for retaining women who are starting families?
Yeah, it's seek out what flex work arrangements can be made there, right? I think there is a reality very much to, right, if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. Not every schedule is always going to be able to work within the operational needs, but definitely we've seen benefits of job shares and be able to see or gradual return to work, right? And I'll also advocate on the other side of like the personal share. I know when I came back after my mat leave parental leave, my husband took a portion of the parental leave, so that I had that like support network initially, that he was going to be home for, and then return to work shortly after taking some parental leave time. But that was a way to be able to balance out to but yeah, seek out what company programs are there, or ask the questions, because yeah, otherwise the answer is always no if you don't ask.
Erica, any insight for retaining women who are starting a family, fly in, fly out?
I think some resources, just even in the cities, let's say daycare or longer school hours. So for the partner who's managing the kids or family members, when like if there was a better set where, oh, this daycare has extended hours and there's just a little bit more room if some flexibility is needed, might be a nice thing for employers in the area to look at having some partnerships and things, and yeah, maybe more attention to the family back home and how their lives could be enhanced to maybe make it manageable, missing one person. And I mean, in the end, we're trying to automate as more as we can. So the less maybe people can have the more split shift where their job, and then maybe half the time they can log in from a computer and they can have a cobot do the work and the lab tests, and they're just looking for that. That's what we're trying to do. Just give us 30 more years, or well, 10, we can do it. So
Sure. Erica, we'll start with you on this next question. What barriers do you face in advancing your career in the industry?
I think the biggest thing is not necessarily times when you've been employed with a lot of other females in senior management role. I think we want to work towards having more women in the management role, and then they can bring that perspective to top level, and just make it not feel as much of a boys club, or I think I heard the term this week in the news, frat boy. And when you have a more diverse of many people, many things, it really helps keep just almost a natural synergy of a feeling of atmosphere of that. So
Thanks. Lisa, any barriers that you face in advancing your career in the industry?
I wouldn't say at this point in time there would be. Again, culture has really changed over the last, decade or two. So no real barriers. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, there aren't any. If it's what you really want and you've made the connections and you've attained the education and experience and things that you need, the equality is there. So you are going to be considered whether you're a woman or not.
Sure. Carly?
Yeah, I think it's breaking down your, like, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy too, right? That we can put up walls and things like that. And so it's making sure that you're checking in with yourself and checking in what's actually happening, and like if there are barriers, like break it down, or at least be curious to understand what's going on to be able to right. And so or seek out those colleagues or those mentors that can help be that supportive partner for you for to break down those barriers.
So just a couple of comments, not a question, but I work in exploration, which can make a good schedule more difficult to manage. I just wanted to say I really appreciate having conversations like this, especially regarding schedules to help women stay in the industry. And another one from Melissa, not a question, but I do want to acknowledge that Lisa's fly-in, fly-out schedule definitely impacted our football team. A specific question for Carly, as someone who is wanting to go to Cameco due to having a dad who has worked with Cameco her entire life, I see how well he was treated. Can it potentially be a long process for hiring? As a single mom, my desire to jump into a job almost immediately outside of school is something I worry I may not be able to find a position.
Can the potential I mean, yeah, our hiring process isn't always exactly quick. I'd love it to be quicker. But my biggest thing is like put your, if you're interested, put your name in the hat, right? Like don't get discouraged. I don't think, sometimes there could just be one opportunity, and the next time then there's a couple more. So keep seeking it out. Don't get me wrong, we have so many folks that have we love seeing all the generational connections. I think we're so closely connected in the North, right? I don't think you can turn without figuring out how someone is connected to somebody. So it's, seek it out, and try and figure, hey, if you've just gone out of school and seeking it out, make sure you're working on your resume to see how you can best align for your job application too, right? That you're applying to roles that align well with what you're seeking.
Thank you, Carly.
But be patient. Hiring process, Dreamland, it'll be quicker, but reality land, not so much.
Sure. So we've got one last one here. Thinking about starting a family as a long-term fly-in, fly-out worker is scary. Most career connections are all from camp, so leaving camp or work for a maternity leave for a year or longer feels like losing your professional network and all of the career progress made so far. How would you suggest someone prepare for the transition from fly-in, fly-out life to having a family, and then the potential return to fly-in, fly-out, or having to find a Monday to Friday job? Carly, we'll start with you.
I mean, change is scary. Like, please identify what's going on, process what's going on in that mind, because there's support, seek it out. That becoming a mom for the first time is terrifying all on its own. So exciting, but let's be honest, it's unknown. It's change. It is so scary. But don't forget that, right? You still matter. You being you and the best version of you is going to be what's best for future little you, right? And so making sure you're balancing out that, hey, find that balance of what works. If you've got the community and partnership to be able to figure it and seek out fly in, fly out, seek flex work arrangements, right? That's where we do see some folks that have gone off and have gone into a flex schedule and job share. Some folks have taken that pause break that they want to be home and get reintroduced after the fact. So right, they're communicating that, so that's still future hopes and aspirations, that's where they want to be. And so nothing's permanent in life, right? So keep having a willingness to be curious for that change and seek it out.
Thank you. Erica, any tips on the transition from fly in, fly out to family and then back? Or
I think don't be worried about a year or two, because in industry, a year or two is still nothing. Time goes by so fast that everyone will remember you and knows your good work, and it will stand for 15, 20 years after. And yeah, if you end up needing to take, let's say, a longer time just because you do not want to miss the initial years, I think I know it's in my company, so I imagine it's going to be spreading to mining companies, is we have an active program where we're trying to recruit women who've left STEM fields and bring them back in, let's say for that 10, 15 years of more focus on the family, and trying to find good paths to get, the teen, when they're in their teenage years, the women, because I mean, then they're my age and we still got quite a few years left in us. So I think you have to look at your whole career, and you have a good 30, 40 years of working. So taking the allocated time off is not a loss at all. It will go by in a blink of an eye. And if you need to take more time off and want to return later on, it will still, you still have plenty of time to rebuild that. And you won't be rebuilding, you'll be building on what you've already established. Like I said, I have people on this call that I've worked with like over 13, 14 years ago, and they recognized my name. So it's how you work that sticks with everyone.
thanks, Erica. Lisa, any thoughts?
Well, we have those specific benefits for a reason. So take your time, go have your family, enjoy setting it up, figure out the work part later. We're going to be here waiting for you. Because of the close relationships you do tend to have when you are up north, being that we are fly in, fly out. I mean, there's been a few times when the people that have left me, I've ended up babysitting them for a couple of times on those weeks up. So we're still retaining those relationships, not working relationships, the personal relationships, but it's still developing, a cohesive network of returning to your work position with having the familiarity with your same people. So yeah, take your benefits, enjoy your time. Your position is going to be held for you. And then again, that's the time when we can hopefully start doing some discussions to see, is there any kind of flexibility to make sure that we can keep you?
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Thanks everybody for the great questions. That was a good conversation. I just wanted to take a moment to say thanks to everybody for joining us today. Thank you to our speakers, Lisa, Erica, Carly, for sharing your experiences and your insights. It's clear that working fly-in, fly-out operations takes resilience, adaptability, and a sense of adventure. We hope you're all leaving with some practical tips and inspiration to take back to your own work. If you'd like to learn more or get involved, check out Saskatchewan Women in Mining, Women in Nuclear. Both are great ways to connect and support each other in our industry. I hope you all enjoy your day, and we'll see you at our next speaker series. Thanks, ladies.